Hey everybody, I'm Clayton Mashad, and welcome back to Improv Town. This is my second interview from the Providence Improv Festival, and for today's episode, I think I'm just going to let the boys introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark X Guinn.
I'm Matt Kerstetter.
And I'm Kevin Tully.
And we are
Crisis, an improvised comic book.
Okay.
Cool. Alright, yeah, so before we talk about you guys as a group, just kind of go around and talk. Where are you guys from, too? You guys don't have, like, the normal city label on your thing.
No?
We transcend.
Yeah, I guess so.
Location.
I mean, we're legally from New York City.
Yeah.
But none of us are from New York City, so.
I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, born and raised.
Yeah, so how'd you get into... Yeah, let's just go... Yeah, How did you get into improv in Omaha?
Oh, that's
What else is there to do?
a great... in high school I did theater, and my senior year I went to our state thespian festival with a group of us did some like short form improv to participate, like one of those improv competition things where we took first. So that was my introduction to improv, and then when I moved to New York for college, I learned about the UCB theater, and I had always watched the UCB sketch show on Comedy Central. I was a big fan of that. So when I found out they were teaching comedy, I started taking classes there, and then the rest is history. I've just been doing it for like about 10 years now. I took a little bit of time where I taught English in South Korea for a couple of years, where I was part of a group of expatriates who did improv theater over there, and that was pretty fun. That was also mostly short form before I went there.
Sorry, what are expatriates?
Oh, it's people from another country.
Traders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they used to be heroes.
People who used to play for the Patriots?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
They're retired Patriots
That's
players.
a good team.
Yeah, retired. So me and this retired football team.
Can't name one.
No, Mr. Patriot.
Sure.
Did some improv, and it was mostly short form. When I went there, I brought in some a little bit of long form, and we did a touring show. Some friends and I who I met there across some fringe festivals in Canada. There's a mix of short and long form that we called schlong form. pretty blue.
Gosh.
And it was there that I saw a show called The Herald of Galactus, which was a 2-person, hour-long, improvised, comic-inspired improv show. It was really cool, and it was something that I knew I'd like to do at some point. And then a few years later, I was taking a class at the Magnet Theater, where I met these guys,
Heck yeah.
who were also big. Yeah, I think it was, I had the Spider-Man, for my Facebook banner, I had
Craven's Last Hunt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Matt had commented on that, and yeah.
Yeah, we did a lot of comic books in that class.
We did also have a lot of comic book references in that class.
Which is crazy at the time, because like no one was really into comics in that scene.
You weren't allowed to be.
Yeah.
And we opened that door
That's right.
in the world.
We kicked it in.
For the American world, I guess, because they had it in Canada.
Well, yeah, but they hadn't done anything in years.
They still do stuff every year.
Canada.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Thanks, man.
Okay, so I, like Mark, saw the UCB show, and I loved it. And when I first started taking UCB classes, probably like 2009, I had no idea what long form was. I thought I was going to be either taking like Whose Line Is It Anyway classes or doing what they did on the TV show. But then it just became long form, and I loved it. It was super fun. I'm not really good at memorizing scripts, so it's very helpful for me because I get to act and not memorize things. So I loved doing that.
Have you been doing acting beforehand?
No, I never really. I've always wanted to do it, but it was super hard for me to get into. So improv was like the gateway into that because you can kind of just like go in with not a ton of experience in acting.
Right. Yeah.
So that was fun for me. I was more on the behind the scenes kind of side of things with like video production and that kind of stuff. But then I wanted it. I just fell in love with improv, taking those classes. I did the whole UCB up to like level 6, and yeah, I remember I was like 20 at the time, and I had to like agree with bartenders not to drink to perform and stuff like that. And just doing shows, indie shows. And yeah, now I've been doing it for 10 years, maybe 11 years now. And yeah, I was on a magnet team, for a house team for a while. I was on a armory team, which is a local, like indie house, you would call it.
Is that like a new comedy collective? I'm also part of an armory improv team, up and coming in New York City. Go the Tank.
Yeah, that's a fun indie theater to do stuff. And
What theater is that?
it's the Armory Tank. Is that what it's officially called?
Also, it's at the Tank Theater, but the program is called the Armory, and it's got a few different comedy programs that it hosts.
And yeah, I was on a couple indie teams for a while, and I took a little break from doing improv after one of my groups split up, and then Matt, who we interned at College Humor together. You just moved to the city, I think, or you'd been there for a little bit.
Yeah, I'd been there for a couple months.
Yeah, and we were talking about doing classes, and I wanted to restart it, and so we both took magnet classes
Yeah,
together.
we found the cheapest one.
Yeah, and now it's the most expensive, I think. Yeah, and then we just did the magnet classes and kind of renewed my interest in improv, and I always wanted to perform with Matt. We have a sketch group, do a group called Bronco Buster, and then we just met Mark, and it all gelled and clicked.
Yeah, it did.
Nice.
Sick.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Before we jump
so
into how you
me,
guys
I met. Yeah, I did. I grew up doing like theater in middle school and high school and all that, and always dug it. All of our like cast parties would always end with us doing Whose Lines Is It Anyway inspired games, and I was kind of like the ringleader of that, and I always wanted to do it. Whose Lines Is It Anyway was stupidly influential for me and all of my friends. It was just so quick and so funny. And then I didn't do anything of it in college, and when I moved to New York, Kevin was doing indie shows, and I would always go to them and be like, this is great. That was like the first time I watched long form improv, and I was like, I could do that.
You texted a couple of the shows too.
Yeah, I texted a couple of them. And then we looked for classes, and at that time it was like $200 for level 1 at the Magnet, which is crazy for New York prices for improv classes nowadays. And then I took like 4 levels. I didn't want to spend $1,000 to audition for a house team, and we just started doing our own thing. We loved comics. I was never in love with doing heralds or deconstructions.
Yeah.
So we figured out a way that we can do whatever we want, and by doing something we love, which is comic books. We're giant, massive nerdy boys.
Yeah.
Cool. So you guys, like, when you came together, was it like, we have a similar set of interests, like, let's be friends and let's hang out and improvise together, and then at some point, like, oh wait, why don't we do a comic thing? Or was it like, I want to do a comic thing. You like comics, and you like comics. Let's get together and do this as a thing.
I think definitely the first one.
Yeah.
Because I'd known Kevin for years going into the level 4 where we met Mark, and I loved doing scenes with Mark, but I didn't know that he liked comic books until I stumbled on his Facebook page late one night, and I believe I just wrote, "We need to talk," and we met up and just gushed about our love for Spider-Man and
Sure, yeah.
all the greats, and eventually we were like, oh well, we should do an improv version of this.
Yeah. If I remember, after one of our shows or after one of our classes, we hung out at a bar, and I think you brought up Harold the Galactus, and we were like, oh, that'd be so fun to do. And then cut to a year later, I was offered an opportunity to do a show at the Magnet, and basically we were able to produce it, which was great. That's where we started doing our stuff, and it was really fun to just do our own show with no restrictions.
Yeah, we worked on it for 4 months before we actually got it on its feet in front of an audience, because I was super nervous and scared because I didn't want to put up a bad show. Because shows are kind of few and far between to get your own, and I really wanted something that was strong, B, funny,
Of course, yeah.
come on, and it's just something that we could be proud of. So we put it through the grinder.
Yeah, I want to talk to you guys about developing that form. But I think first, for the listening audience who hasn't seen you, you guys want to describe Do you guys want to describe your form just quickly in a 60-second description, and then we'll talk about coming how you guys developed and got to the point that you are now.
Cool.
All right, so it's very similar to like the improvised movie, but we use comic book conventions instead of like film editing techniques. We open every show with a suggestion, and from that we scene paint the cover of the first issue of a brand new superhero. Through that cover, we learn a little bit about our hero, their superpowers, their villains. But it's just also really fun to like have fun with that cover and like do creative stuff. And then we just do a narrative story of a superhero, gaining their powers, gaining
30 seconds.
an enemy, fighting crime, and then ultimately culminating in some kind of a final battle. Yeah, throughout, we're commenting on editor's notes, we're talking about the text bubbles, we're describing different panels, we try to put an advertisement in there, and
You got 10 seconds.
and then after a blackout, we'll show a little preview of what you'll see in the next issue. And that's it.
All right, 5 seconds to spare.
Yeah, geez, efficient. That's one of the things about Crisis. Funny and efficient is what people always say.
Efficient first, funny second.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's interesting that you described it as the movie, as a movie, the form, but you're doing it with comic. Because I hadn't like made that connection, but it makes sense that it is very similar to that, where instead of describing, we zoom in on the keyhole, like the camera goes through the keyhole, and we see to the other room and stuff. Instead, it's very similar, but you're just describing. We see the city in the background.
We try to bring up like the art style too, if we can.
Yeah.
Like depending on the era of the comic, or like if it's like kind of like a Rob Liefeld or like something super exaggerated.
Gritty Frank Miller story.
To kind of give it context for people too. And I think it worked as the movie originally. Kind of that form was really good to start off with, because we started practicing as like if we did Spider-Man, if we did like an improvised version of the Spider-Man movie, an improvised version of the Batman movie to practice, and it kind of stemmed from that.
Cool. So you guys were like aware going into it that we want to take the movie and do something new and creative with it,
Yeah.
as opposed to like, well, let's do this comic book thing and then working together and then being like, oh wait, we're doing a movie. So it was something you went into like, let's use this and try to.
I do think it was the latter, though. I think we said, let's do something comic book-like.
Yeah.
And it was our coach, Willie Appleman. Props to Willie Appleman if you're looking for an improv coach, who said, this is very much like a movie. Let's start with that and then develop from there.
Yeah, but I don't think we. I mean, this was like 4 or 5 years ago now.
Probably it's now 5 years ago.
Because we weren't super comic booky until we started off one practice set where somebody went forward and was like on the cover of this issue, and then we really started describing that because we didn't have an open either.
We didn't. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's how we kind of came up with our scene painting the open, was to really paint it within a comic book. So at one point we thought about like walking up to the stage and opening up a drawer and miming that you're picking out a comic and blowing the dust off, and
or we had like editors like talking and setting up the bits.
Yeah.
I think we just love talking about comic book covers, and I think that also helped us get to that point too.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, it would just be us on stage talking to each other for 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's usually what our bits end up devolving into. Like some of the most beloved bits, usually just us breaking from the action and talking about what's been happening in the comic book.
Yeah.
Because if we could actually like do, we love the comic form, but I may be speaking out of turn for saying
Watch
this.
yourself, Tully.
Oh, be careful, this is on air.
We love doing, like, we call them dick around mono scenes to practice and to just like warm up, because we just like doing scene work with each other and not thinking so much about the, what would you call it, like the mathematics behind a scene, or
Oh God, yeah. I never want to have to figure out when to do a second beat in my life.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so yeah, our structures, it gives us the freedom to really explore how there's always going to be like a superhero, but we can really explore like how we see that journey.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that is a linear, like, you get your high school nerd outcast, gets a mentor, gets powers, mentor dies, fights the villain. But sometimes we'll diverge from that. Like a few times we've twisted and we've set up who you think the hero and the villain will be, and we switch those, and those are always fun. And sometimes, with like Vagrant Vanguard, like the hero was also their own worst enemy.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Yeah, so as all you big Crisis Cadets know out there from Vagrant Vanguard, our last show, we do like to experiment. Oh, or like the Undertaker.
Oh,
Yeah.
for the professional wrestler, The Undertaker, we did a whole issue that was his origin story, where the author, the quote-unquote author, knew nothing about professional wrestling. So that was a blast.
And that was also for my benefit.
That was for Mark.
Yeah.
Because the fun sort of meta bit was Kevin and Matt, big wrestling fans. I love Roddy Piper, and that's it.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's really fun to play with because, like, if we make a mistake or if there's, like, something that's not completely, like, canonical or right, we can always blame it on the writer of the comic and not us.
It's not our fault.
Yeah,
It's the writer's fault.
It's always the writer's fault because sometimes you'll read a comic and it will be like, what's going on? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So.
It gives us carte blanche to just make mistakes,
Yeah.
which is great.
What's
And
retcon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just retcon.
Because we'll do covers that, like, you'll read a comic book cover and you'll see, like, Robin dead on the cover, like, Punisher killing a whale. And you've seen that one? The
No.
Moby Dick one? Yeah, there's
No.
a cover where Punisher is literally killing Moby Dick.
Well, you gotta kill something.
And there's no whale in that comic. So,
Amazing.
yeah, it's stuff like that.
but
It's
it gives
really
you the the essence of what's inside.
Yeah, it's a symbol.
Sure.
Oh, and then we did my background story.
We did a
that
story
one time.
about Mark Guinn.
It was following. We did a show on the heels of a class that I'd wrapped up, and some of my classmates had went to go see the show, and we called for the suggestion. One of them yelled, "Mark Guinn as a baby."
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I was the one who said, "Well, maybe we should get something else."
Absolutely
and
not.
Matt, I think you were adamant,
That's right.
and you said we were going to do this.
And we did.
I don't think
And
we've ever thrown back a suggestion, right?
no, I don't think we
Try
have.
to keep them.
No, but I would love to one day.
Yeah, just really give it to the audience.
I think the day we get dildo will be the day we
Yeah.
throw it back.
Yeah.
Which is impressive, and
It's impressive you haven't
it's
gotten
a
that.
testament to our audience for not saying that to us yet.
Yeah.
We don't get any nasty suggestions.
No, we're pretty lucky.
We get like the improv staples though, like pineapple.
Yeah.
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 The funniest word people can think of, apparently.
People are hungry going into improv sets.
Oh,
Guys, before you go to see an improv show, make sure to eat.
You
Set your
don't want to get
suggestions.
cramps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but wait 30 minutes.
Wait, yeah, the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wait 30 minutes, and then go to
Well, it's
the
because you're on land that you don't get cramps if you eat.
Yeah, but
Because then when you're in the water.
improv is so submersive and
Oh,
immersive.
good point.
Ah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Thank you.
Back to the suggestion, like, I always find it interesting because we'll get, like, a lot of fruit-based suggestions and stuff like that. And, like, I'm so worried we're going to, like, we had just some watermelon. Like, oh, God, we're going to do, like, Watermelon Man again or whatever. And then it turned into, like, the ice cream guy.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Flavorful.
Dr. Flavorful, yeah.
Naturally.
So it's always great when the suggestion is, like, kind of 3 beats or, like, moves kind of removed from the character's a little bit, like, not on the nose of what they exactly said.
So for your suggestion, I think we didn't mention explicitly how you get it.
Yeah.
So do you guys?
Oh, yeah, we should actually talk about how it goes into the intro and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you guys get specifically for your suggestion?
We get a one-word suggestion of anything.
Yeah, and we state that this is going to be a never-before-seen comic, a never-before-seen character. We usually always do an issue 1. I don't think we've ever...
Yeah.
Maybe we've done a little bit into the future of a character, but it's usually an issue 1.
Yeah. And then once we get the suggestion, we'll take a little break. The theme from Mask of the Phantasm will play through the speakers.
Yeah.
Then we'll get into a tableau. 3 of us striking a pose. Front and center will be usually the hero or the focal point. And then whoever didn't take center stage, the other 2 will start describing what you see.
Yeah.
Describing the hero, giving him physical attributes and powers. And then we'll paint the rest of the cover before finally coming up with a name for the hero.
Yeah, and we used to do it. Didn't we used to do all of us went on or one person went on? Because we switched it to where we described, like, the individual character. We shifted how we did the intro at one point because
It used to be way less focused.
Yeah, and then we started being a little bit more conversational with it, I think, and that really helped us out a lot too. So, like, if Mark's on the focus, we'll all shift back and forth talking about Mark, or, like, I'll fill in for Mark and then he'll talk about that character as well. So it's kind of like being in a writer's room, I would say, or a comic writer's room and being like, what does this guy have?
Yeah, it's kicking around ideas too, because there have also been times where someone will say something and be like, he has a flowery pirate shirt on. Be like, but no, he doesn't. It's something else for like a better idea.
Yeah.
Which is fine because I think we're so close to each other that we don't care if someone poo-poos what we say.
No, we love doing that.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's interesting. So in your form, more so than a lot of forms, you guys are like in neutral a lot because you're not as characters, but as playing yourselves, I suppose. Because anytime that you're describing something, you're stepping out of the characters that you might be playing. So do you guys find that like when you've already talked about how you'll do a lot of like either meta or like breaking the fourth wall, poking fun at each other. Guys, I guess the question is like, is that something that you feel like happens more because you have this form where you kind of step outside of the characters and you get to kind of be in neutral, whereas maybe if you guys were doing a herald or some sort of montage that doesn't really have that?
I think if the three of us did a herald, we would probably do it way more often. At least I would, because the last thing I want to do is a herald. So I would find ways to, break it down and, tear it apart for our own pleasure.
Yeah, well, I'm making my improv soapbox here. It's there's nothing I hate more than just seeing a team of people not wanting to do the form they're in or not having a fun time in it. All my favorite groups are people who can break that fourth wall easily and still make it feel like I'm watching a play or entertainment. I think like just even like the podcasts I listen to or like the comedy I like, it's more about the group getting along than the form. I don't think if we gave this form to someone else, it would be very different. Right. It's more we know each other very well actually. So it's kind of like playing in a band as opposed to, I don't know, just showing up and doing a thing.
Yeah, it's jazz, baby.
Yeah.
I think that all really stems from us being theatrical people.
Yeah.
Kind of first and foremost, in that we kind of just want to have a broad and bombastic approach to what we do, and I think we like making eye contact with the audience and talking directly to them. Usually down to them.
Sure.
Yeah. It's so much that feeling. High horse.
Oh yeah,
high horse.
Keep that in our back pockets. But like it's 420 high.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, we're gonna do an improvised comic book for you all right now.
Yeah.
The suggestion is high horse.
On the front cover, we see a horse with a bong.
Yeah. But the villain is a zebra who always follows the rules.
Yeah,
get out of here. Oh, but there's a crossover. That zebra is related to Hebra, one of our
heroes.
One of our heroes.
Yeah, that's like the best part about it is just like joking ourselves and figuring out where it's gonna go, and definitely pandering the audience. That's something that is really fun to do, and I love watching improv teams really talk to the audience instead of ignoring them, because I feed off that energy so much.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's weird, but like I think one of the best compliments an improv group can get, just to piggyback off what Kevin was saying, is that like
this is the best improv I've ever seen.
Which we did here once, and that was fantastic.
Because I don't think it gets better than that.
Yeah, that's all right. So the best compliment you can get is this is the best improv I've ever seen, which we've heard before.
Okay.
And I think the second best compliment you can get is it looks like you all are good friends. And you're comfortable with each other. Which we are. We're all on the same page on aesthetics. Like the bombast and all the scene painting and stuff. But we're also like Matt also said, we no one takes it personally. If someone's like look
at this idiot, Mark Guinn.
Right.
Fell off the turnip truck from Nebraska.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very funny.
We take that and we just suppress it and we put it.
We save that for a therapist.
Yeah, we put it in a deep dark place.
My therapist, I just talk all the time about how Mark and Matt just laid.
His name is Kevin. He's 6'7". But yeah, no, I mean we're just and we're super we just gel really well together. And like those moments where we get meta and we step out of our characters and just like shoot the shit around. Again, like I said audience members will say that was part of their favorite part of the set.
Oh yeah, last night I think our favorite part of the set was when we just named old things.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Globes and abacuses and compasses.
Yeah.
And it was just, nothing was happening on stage. Mark
we-
and Kevin
we
were
had the
standing
3-minute
so
warning.
far
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
I was on the other side and we were just listing old things.
Yeah.
And we got so much joy and amusement out
Yeah.
of that.
Wow.
And I think the audience saw that we were having fun, and they, most audiences would hate that. People standing around, listing quill pens. And, I think that we have a charm to us.
I think we get real excited when we get on that train together, that same thought train,
Yeah.
and just keep hitting those nails.
Yeah, even to go back to what Kevin said earlier, how like we all met talking about this at like after a class show, we all went out for drinks.
Walters.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I think like I've taken a lot of classes where like people don't like hang out after class or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like even like if you're out there and you're taking improv classes, I think what makes the difference between a good class and a great class is like bonding with your teammates.
Yeah.
And so we bonded, and I
Yeah.
think that's a cool thing.
Matt and
He just went to the bathroom.
he
just left us alone.
we're taking
This is our show now.
We're welcome.
Well, it is crisis.
Okay.
Yeah, today we're gonna be talking about crisis comic books. What's your favorite comic book, Mark?
Oh man, my favorite comic book. I'm gonna say my favorite team's the Thunderbolts. And I'm gonna say
Yeah.
issue number 1, baby. When you get that big reveal.
Don't spoil it.
Oh, yeah, no spoilers here.
Yeah.
How about you, Matt?
Oh,
What's
my
the
favorite
numero
comic
uno?
book. My favorite comic book is Amazing Spider-Man #1. The one where Ben Riley finally became the one true Spider-Man. Following up a terrific clone saga.
No.
It's one of the greatest
Yikes.
storylines you will ever know.
That is the only
this
person who
is
has ever
Written
said.
by the great Tom DeFalco. Just really check it out. It's only
Matt,
85
please.
issues,
Anytime Matt can
spawning
talk.
6 years.
No,
And it has a great payoff. And
This
you know,
was a
And we
mistake.
all realize now,
we
like,
shouldn't have done
we
this.
finally accept Ben Riley as our
Oh,
true
shh,
Spider-Man.
He's back. Come back.
Uh,
So the thing about
so
improv.
Is it's a great way to get your voice out there.
Yeah.
Let people know who you are.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, but back to our friendship things. Like, yeah, we hang out. Like, both Matt and Mark are in my wedding party. Like, that's how close we
Yeah.
are. It's
Mm.
we would if Crisis wasn't doing shows, we would still be hanging out, which is
It just
ideal.
gives us an excuse to
Exactly. Yeah.
hang out
That's
in
the
front of people.
yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Because I guess we've had a lot of superheroes with great superpowers, but I would say the greatest power of all is friendship.
Oh.
Right?
I think it's teleportation, but friendship is close.
Oh.
Okay. Well, this is.
Guys, if you can teleport, you can go
You don't need
anywhere.
friends.
You don't-
yeah.
Mark's favorite movie is Jumper.
Yeah. So
Mark's favorite song is also Jumper.
the great movie and great song.
That's the titular song from the movie.
The third best power is jumping. Super leaps.
Yeah.
Cool. So did you guys do other? Well, what like tweaks? What other ways have you kind of like messed around with presenting it?
Ads are something new that we started doing.
Yeah, because in festivals we usually only get like 15 to 20 minutes, but when we do our own show, we'll usually go for like a half hour. So we have more time to explore things, and we try to insert weird advertisements that are usually the antithesis of what the comic book is about.
Yeah. Or it's a product that was casually mentioned,
Yeah.
like Corona, I think we mentioned, or something.
Corona.
Yeah.
Right,
So
yeah.
I always love when things are endorsed or like just like stupid ads in comics.
Because it makes it feel more like a comic book.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You go 5 pages in a comic book, and you're gonna see an ad for, if it was the '90s, Aerosmith's Box of Fire box set.
I love playing with decades and like what would have been an ad back then.
Yeah, it was Aerosmith's Box of Fire, the box set of Aerosmith.
What was their arcade game that they had? That
It was like Sega CD.
Yeah, that was always in the ads.
It's like a shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the area. It was exactly Area 51, and they just put.
Did you have to save Aerosmith? Were you
I
Aerosmith?
don't remember.
Oh
Oh
man.
God.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think advertisements are definitely a big one. And even as we mentioned earlier, we've also sort of evolved what we do with the cover.
Yeah.
It started from, we would just kind of describe what we saw on the cover and then start pantomiming that, whereas now we just dive right into some kind of an action pose.
Yeah.
And then describe it from there.
I think my favorite thing we've evolved and started is the goon work, though.
Yeah,
which
right.
is the ads and the goon work and all these kind of moves are meant to give us a little break from talking about the scenes, and like
Yeah.
they kind of like give us a little like I would say they're the group games almost of our
Sure.
form.
Yeah. Do you want to explain what goonery
Yeah,
is?
goonery. So when we're doing a superhero story, we'll obviously have like some kind of bank heist or some kind of robbery or goons up to no good, and usually that's just us as people doing crimes, but also talking about like mundane things. Like we did, like talked about like the best Phil Collins albums, like why like moving toxic waste to like someplace.
Yeah, I think like the best example is just the line. You know, a lot of people think it's called Teenage Wasteland, but me and you, we know it's called Bobo O'Reilly.
Yeah. It's the stuff we would say in the car ride up, pretty much. Like and that's always fun to see these kind of normal-esque characters in this murderers. Like,
Right.
because like what does a goon talk about when they're doing their work?
Yeah, it's either their interest or their 401k.
Yeah. And that feels a lot like my favorite form, like the mono scene.
Oh yeah.
It's just like really people just like having a conversation while doing insane things. So that's goonery, and that's like the most fun.
Yeah, and I mean something else different that we do is if you're lucky enough to catch us in October or on any Friday the 13th, we change it from Crisis and Improvised Comic Book to Tales from the Crisis. When we'll do a horror-inspired, like Tales from the Crypt-inspired comic book, where instead of a hero, it's usually some sort of tale of terror and great peril.
Yeah. A hubris gone wrong. Someone who loves watching TV all the time. So they're transported into a TV and they think it's heaven, but
What is
not
it?
quite. It's
Hold on.
It's.
Don't leave me hanging.
I don't know if I can say this on air.
Just whisper it. Oh, you can't say hell.
Yeah, that's what I wasn't good at. I didn't want to say.
HE double hockey sticks.
There. It's actually HE.
Are we supposed to curse on this podcast?
You're supposed to curse.
Oh, great.
We can also edit that out in post, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always that's super fun. Instead of a cover, still get a cover, but we'll also get some kind of a crypt keeper to start off the action. Talk a little bit about the horrors that lie ahead, and that person will also recap at the end of the comic.
And
what we have.
just shoehorn as many puns as they can
Yeah.
into it, Crypt Keeper style. And that is, I don't know, that's like the most fun that we have is every year we do a big Halloween show where we'll all dress up in costumes.
Yeah.
We really want the audience to, and they're slowly getting on that train.
Yeah, little by little.
And it's the most fun because we're all like Halloween fans.
Oh yeah, big time.
I'm literally wearing a Misfits Andre the Giant jacket.
It's true.
Yeah, I love
That's when
Halloween.
That's the Giant with the Crimson Ghost for Halloween. Yeah.
And so you guys still do that as like a comic book as that.
Yeah. So it's like all those comics were so huge in like the 1950s. You're like the Vault of Horror and Tales from the Crypt.
For the comic
Tales
book.
of Suspense.
That's right.
Yeah.
When you were allowed to have werewolves in your comics.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are like I like those. I like it because it's also a little bit Twilight Zone-y too.
Yeah.
Which is a thing people really get when they see like it's just fun to see people being given what they want and then it all falls apart. And it's kind of like our easiest form, I think, that we do.
Oh, interesting.
At least to me, I feel like it's so natural us just doing
You're just
that.
bragging now.
It's the hardest form for me.
Really?
I don't like scary improv.
It's the middleist form for me.
Great.
Well then, but the regular improv show is the easiest form for you.
Yep.
The middleest form for me, and the hardest form for Kevin.
Yes.
And a third thing too.
Yeah.
And what's that third thing?
Schlong form.
Schlong
Yeah.
form.
The classic schlong form.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing for me.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Get it out of there.
Yeah.
It's a very funny name, Mark. You did good.
I think.
Mark, how old were you when they made that name?
You're gonna be disappointed.
35.
We really just want to elevate the art form.
Yeah. Wait, what's wrong? It's just a portmanteau of short and long. What's wrong with it?
you know exactly.
I don't. Why don't you say? Why don't you? Why don't you say?
To.
Oh, whisper it to me.
You just kept talking about how long your long form sets were, and I was really embarrassed.
Yeah, the girth of our sets.
So why do you don't
That's
say that?
Why can't they were long sets?
Oh God!
They were hard sets too.
Stop
It's tough
it!
to incorporate the short. What?
You know what you're doing.
I wish. Tell me, what am I doing?
God, don't make me come over there.
Stop it.
Don't make
Nope.
me what?
No. Oh, I know what you're doing.
I will turn this podcast around. Children.
Don't even mention the group scenes.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
You have to forgive Mark. He's had way too much candy while we've been here.
I can have as much candy as I want when we go to festivals.
Absolutely not.
That's what you guys said.
You didn't
on
sleep at all
festivals.
last
If I'm
night.
I was jumping on the bed.
No.
Yeah. It's really it's fun traveling though. Like this is our 4th time in Providence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we love coming here, and it's
Kind of our home away from home. Our vacation home.
I really look forward to it every year. It's also just fun traveling with your friends too.
For sure, yeah. We perform about once a month in New York City.
Yeah.
We also have a pretty solid track record of doing festivals just like the Northeast that we can just like take a road trip to or take a bus to.
Yeah, we'll do like 3 or 4 a year.
Yeah.
Gives us a weekend away.
Do you guys get like different receptions when you play at festivals versus?
Oh,
Yeah,
big
big
time.
time.
Oh
we
my
get different
goodness.
receptions at different festivals.
Yeah.
There's one festival in particular that does not care for an improvised comic book. I will tell you that
Well,
much.
it's just we also got like late slots at that festival.
Yeah.
I think the time is a big thing. Like we're obviously in Providence right now. We performed last night, Friday at 7, was just a good time slot. There was just a good house. Because like 2 years ago here, we just had a later time slot, and it was still a fine house. But like I think the time has a lot to do with it as well. But I mean, with like New York too, it's just like, there are like 7 different comedy theaters you can go to.
Not even
Any
more.
night.
On any night of the week that you can go to see a show for like even $5 or for free. So it's like, our audience is still mostly our friends and family and a guest team.
Yeah.
But like,
But we'll get people, and that's always
always my favorite.
Yeah.
We have a super fan.
Yeah.
Guys, shout out to Adam when we know you're listening to this.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's always pleasant to see people we don't know. That's the best thing that can happen in New York
Yeah,
City.
I really feel like that we're really starting to hit, though, in New York, finally. It's
After
nice.
this.
I think right now we're actually looking out into the audience and seeing a majority of people we don't know, which,
That's all you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun, but we love all our friends, but like they've seen us dick around for so long. Like
Yeah.
it's nice to like someone who hasn't seen us. Yeah, and back to the festival thing. Like I don't know if it was our favorite festival, but like the one we did in the movie theater.
That was Hartford,
with just
Connecticut.
a huge crowd. That was like,
Oh yeah.
I've never been able to experience that in New York, which was awesome. Like just like a sea of people you don't know in a movie theater. That was
For sure.
really
That was
cool.
a really cool one.
It's also like, we in New York there's also like tons of like, experimenting with improv, but what we do is still even unique by New York standards, but then when we take it to other cities, a lot of people will always say, I've never seen anything like that, and it's so cool.
Yeah, that's why I generally think we do get good responses and good turnouts in festivals because, you'll go to any set of the day and there's going to be people doing heralds and deconstructions. Generally, there's only one improvised comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever been on a bill with another.
I can't name another improvised comic book.
Yeah, not even like,
Is there one at the pit, or am I wrong?
Oh, I mean, there's like, there's some like comic-inspired
comic-inspired
improv.
stuff.
Like,
Yeah.
there's the Avengers who
Yeah.
will occasionally do.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out Aaron Gold.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we
We
should
see-
bring up like for our New York show, we bring in a guest team. And
Yeah.
we give them a challenge that's comic book themed as well. So when we do our show, we try to make it top to bottom very comic book heavy. You're not going to see. Everything has to be somewhere in the spectrum of a comic book for our shows because I think that helps us be a little bit more unique and stand out.
Yeah, like the first show we did, we did the Daredevil challenge for another team.
Right, the team without fear.
The-
Oh, where we
the-
blindfolded
where
up.
we blindfolded one of the
Yeah.
performers and
Yeah.
had them. They had to do their entire set blindfolded. We've done a bunch of other fun ones, like the Invisible Woman set, where there was someone off stage with a microphone and they had to interact in their scenes.
I love the Punch Hitler challenge, where
Punch Hitler challenge.
in every scene a team had to punch Hitler.
Yeah, that was very cathartic.
And then we do our yearly show, which we invite some of our favorite people back, and we list some of the heroes we made that year. Not all of them,
Our
but
favorite ones.
Our favorite ones, and we have them come on and we perform an ensemble. We let people be a part of the Crisis show and do our form, not our form with us, but essentially
we do like a mono scene.
we do.
usually.
Yeah, and that's super fun to see. Because, like, you can do a ton of Harold's and a ton of mono scenes and all that, but you don't really remember a lot of the characters, and we create these just even the name of a character is funny enough that they can kind of bring their own interpretation to it.
God, that's my favorite part of Crisis is the Crisis verse and the mythology that we create. Every hero and villain has a special place in our hearts, and yeah, it's always fun. I guess when you asked earlier about what do we do to experiment, that's one of my favorite things is, we'll get those guest performers, and like an Avengers style set where it's
very like super frenzy, hanging out at the Hall of Justice.
Yeah.
You know, one year we did all heroes, next year we did all villains.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And that's just a really good time to pat ourselves on the back for
Good job, well done. Another year in the book.
Another year in the book.
And then
there it is.
Yeah, we do when we do a new poster every year too.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is like all the good heroes we made on our cover, which is awesome to just see kind of what you talked about on stage become a work of art. Yeah,
because it's us describing it, but it's so cool to see someone else's artistic interpretation of the chill surfer, the Hawaiian Iceman who surfs around and fights fire with ice, because everyone has a different image of what that is, but then just have like a real artist work her magic and really do it is the coolest thing for us.
Yeah, we have a Laura Monado. I may be pronouncing that last name wrong, but she does our comic books every year, and it's always really, really cool to see that.
Yeah, and they're always like inspired by a well-known issue of a comic book.
Yeah.
Like the first big one we did was based off of the X-Men's Days of Future Past,
So good.
which is iconic, and our most recent one is based off of Watchmen, which
It's our
is amazing.
We love Watchmen.
I think it's our favorite work of literature.
My favorite movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah. No, I am the big supporter of the Zack Snyder.
What's
Watchmen.
second for me after Jumper?
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
God, so good.
Mark also loves Suicide Squad.
I think I just think it gets too much hate. We've had this argument over and over. I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it's just hated too much. I think it's a C to C+ movie.
Wow. So it passes.
It passes.
Passes the test for you.
It passes.
Wow.
You were so happy when it won that nominate for the Oscar.
I
It won.
It won. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Academy Award-winning movie.
Yeah, Suicide Squad is an Academy Award-winning movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad that someone sees what I see, which is that it's a passable film.
Yeah, that's a black guy on Hollywood.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad winning and Academy Award.
Oh no, that's great for Hollywood. It's great news.
Yeah.
It's great for everyone.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's also the fun thing too. We love just watching comic book movies and what is it like? We went to see the Fantastic Four, the worst movie.
Oh,
we
my
still had so much
goodness.
fun doing it.
Well, that was a Saturday called Fantastic Four Loco,
Mhm.
where you bring your favorite flavor of Four Loco into the movie theater and you watch Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
So it helps it go down a little smoother with a big grapey malt liquor by your side.
Grapey.
Yeah, I'm a tap.
Then you go to Matt's apartment afterwards, and we just keep drinking.
Yeah, good day.
Watching better superhero movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, all of this comes from just a general love and passion for the biz, as they call it in the comic book world.
What's that short for?
Biz Markie.
Yep.
The rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Bismarcky of the comic book
That's
world,
right.
for sure.
You guys ever tried to, like, I don't know, do an improv set at a comic book store or something?
Oh, we wish.
We would love
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
That'd be super fun.
That would be really cool. We've done like a show that was loosely affiliated with like the New York Comic Con.
Yeah, for the Pit,
At the
right?
Pit,
Oh.
yeah, where they had like it was during New York Comic Con week, so they really put together this whole nerdy evening, and that was like kind of the closest we were able to perform in front of like a crowd of comic book fans.
Yeah, if we did like a con or something, I feel that would be so much fun because that's our base. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest compliments we do get are from people who love comic books, which is like, I love comic books, and this was really good.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the third best thing someone can tell you when it comes to improv.
Yep, after the best I've ever seen, to you guys are all good friends, to I like comic books.
That's all they
Full
tell
stop.
you.
Yes,
And they
I
walk
like
away.
comic
They
books.
walk away from you.
Then my head explodes. And then, there's that's always like it's almost like when you go into a person's apartment and you like look at what books they have or what music they have. Like you can learn a lot about like a person by what comic books they really enjoy, and that's always a fun conversation to have with someone. Especially after a show, like, oh, like what are you reading or what are you into right now?
Mm-hmm.
What got you in the comics, particularly?
Or like, who's your Flash?
Yeah,
That's how
that's
you
a
know
big
what
one.
someone is.
Yeah.
For legacy heroes,
Mhm.
if theirs lines up with yours, if you're a Wally West person, then you're right.
That's how you weed them out too, because if they don't know,
Oh,
they don't.
We're not here to weed people out.
That's true.
We're a very welcoming group.
Yeah.
People have also said, I don't like comics, and this was really good. That's the fourth best thing someone can tell you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Someone dressed up as a Draco Malfoy last year told me that. So that was very polite.
What?
What show was
That was the last, we did it with the Harry Potter group last year.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to Draco Malfoy.
Yeah.
And,
Shout out to
And,
Drake.
yeah.
That's always fun too, because there's a little bit of a nerd crossover. We'll do shows with like Harry Potter people or Star Trek people.
Yeah, red shirts.
Yeah.
we have this is a fantastic group in New York City. The Red Shirts, they do, it's an all-female troupe that does a musical improv show inspired by Star Trek The Next Generation. And we've collaborated with them a lot, and that's always fun.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, very hyper specific. I love it.
Yeah.
It's they're even more specific in their nerd knowledge of that form.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I love Star Trek, but I only really know the original series, but I'm still enjoying watching that. So yeah, that's always fun too, is like getting someone who doesn't even know much about comics and maybe getting them to read a comic too. I don't know, that would be fun. I love I when you go see a movie and then like a comic movie and then you want to read that comic book, like I would love someone to be like, oh, I really liked your set. Like what comic book should I read? I just want to like tell them that. Like that'd be fun.
What would you tell them?
To read comic book wise, I probably would if I haven't read Watchmen, obviously that. But my go to, I like the villain stuff. I always like Villains United.
Suicide Squad.
Oh god.
Yeah, some good Suicide Squad comic books. Good comic book.
Yeah, it's good comics.
Daredevil Bendis' run is really good.
Yeah, Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, listen to this, and we know you are.
That's oh man, like that's a deep question too. Like I guess it'd be on the person. I'd probably try to figure out what they're into.
You gotta read them.
Yeah.
Let's plug New York Pacific.
Sure.
So there's a podcast that I write with a friend also from Omaha, Nebraska. Shout out to Omaha, Nebraska.
We know you're listening.
Yep.
They always are.
That's right.
And just we just do like audio sketches. Kevin and Matt are frequent guests as well. So that's always very funny. Look us up online, New York Pacific Podcast. We're on iTunes.
It is the smartest podcast for dumb people, the dumbest podcast for smart people.
I feel I learn a lot when I do it.
But you also, there are aspects where you get a little dumber every time you do that as well. So yeah,
It is a highbrow comedy for lowbrow people.
Yeah.
Oh, I was advertising lowbrow comedy for highbrow people.
That's because you're so smart.
That's because that's how you think of yourself.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, the best.
Yeah.
Oh.
And also if anyone's listening and wants to book us, like we're always looking.
Oh yeah.
Bring us to your show. Bring
Yeah.
us to your
Bring us to your
festival.
festivals.
Or
Bring us to your Comic-Con.
Or if you're an outside New York person and if you want to stop by New York and do a show and get a superhero theme, that would also we look for that too.
Come hang out with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, this is your host, Clayton Mashad. Did you enjoy this podcast? Did you at least not hate this podcast? Do you appreciate the fact that this podcast exists? Well, if so, do me a solid and rate and review this podcast wherever you're listening to it. Thank you in advance, or thank you in the present if you've already reviewed us.
All my favorite groups are people who can break that fourth wall easily and still make it feel like I'm watching a play.